new home, which is great. We both love it. We're kind of like out in the country sticks outside of the Charlotte area, but in like a nice little living community. So I think it's definitely more our scene and more kind of like backwoods feel that we like, which is great. This house is wonderful. I was gonna do a full house tour, but then I kind of decided like a lot of our rooms don't have furniture yet for them. Like we have a billiards room we have to get furniture for. The room I'm currently in is a loft area, but we're gonna turn it into a second living room. This needs furniture. At least 2 bedrooms need furniture and a dining table. I don't know, all sorts of stuff. Why would I do a house tour when you just get to see empty rooms? It's pretty stupid. So I was like, scratch that. They don't need to see that. Maybe once we furnish the place, if that's something y'all want to see, I'll go back and do a house tour. But I did think, okay, to celebrate us finally moving into our house and how far we have come in a year, I guess a little bit of a backstory to all of this. A year ago, we were in the immigration process. He wasn't allowed to work, and then we were living off my regional salary, and then when I went to training, neither of us were working or having any money coming in for 10 weeks. So there was a period of time when he first came here that we were jumping hotel to hotel to hotel, and then after that, we moved in with my parents. Yeah. And then got our own apartment, and now we are in this beautiful house that is way larger than we could have ever imagined or asked for just the two of us. It is just, this year has been just crazy and a blessing, and lots of stuff is coming with our own companies, and it has been a crazy year to say nonetheless. But enough of that. So the point you came here. I decided, well, since we are now in our new house, why don't we go ahead and talk about what I deem to be one of the funniest things about being a flight attendant lifestyle kind of thing, and I did it, is Crashpads. Basically, it is a crazy, strange lifestyle. So for those of you who don't know what a Crashpad is, it is what a lot of flight attendants and pilots, I've even had gate agents in my Crashpad. It's kind of like the lifestyle that a lot of people seem to live, especially if you're a new hire or if you're a commuter. And it's basically one house or apartment or something with a few rooms that a bunch of people share. You'll have like bunk beds really, and there's 2 types of bedding systems. So you'll have what's called a hotbed, and a hotbed basically means that you rent your Crashpad for either X number of days in the month, or you just rent it when you show up, basically kind of like you would a hotel for the night. So you rent the bed for the night, and that's a hotbed, meaning that you put your sheets on, you take your sheets off, and then the next day it's probably somebody else's bed. Then you have what's called a cold bed. So a cold bed basically says like you are renting that specific bed for the entire month. And Crashpads usually are month to month, but sometimes you can find some that are week to week. But that means that is your bed, your sheets stay on that bed for the month and everything like that. Crashpads usually are very, very inexpensive rents, and they can have anywhere from a couple people to a ton of people. Sometimes there's like facilities for Crashpads. It really just depends. You can find Crashpad pricing anywhere from, I would say, as low as like maybe $150, $200, upwards to $500. After that, I feel like it's almost too much. I mean, maybe in some of these places like New York or something, it might get a little higher, but around there is what I would say most Crashpads go for. And Google is your best friend. There's lots of websites or Facebook. Look on Facebook pages and stuff, because that's kind of how you'll find Crashpads and find people, or just like word of mouth and stuff. Just to ask people, be like, hey, has anybody heard of Crashpads or whatever? Or if you know a flight attendant, reach out to them and be like, hey, do you know any good Crashpads in this area? Maybe they do, or maybe they can direct you somewhere that you need to be. And a lot of commuters will have their own houses or their own places and then get a Crashpad at base. So for example, say that you're like on reserve and you have to be at base even when you're not flying. Well, it's cheaper for you sometimes to do a crash pad room than it is for you to get a hotel every night that you didn't get a trip. Especially when you're in some of these really expensive bases like San Francisco or LA or New York. It's easier for you to do the crash pad life than to try and pay for a hotel every night. Which, granted, flight attendants usually get discounted rates at hotels, but a crash pad is still cheaper than that discounted rate. Plus, some of those discount hotels are really cheap hotels where it's like $45 a night or whatever. They're $45 a night hotel. Okay, please don't get it confused. But I know when I was in my crash pad, I was only paying $250 a month for my crash pad bed. And it was a bunk bed, and the crash pad I was in was a 2-bedroom. There was 3 bunk beds in one room, 2 bunk beds in another. And then we also had a sofa in the living room. And every now and again, somebody would rent the sofa, and that would be kind of like a hot bed system. But for the most part, my crash pad was a cold bed. There was 10 of us, if I did that math right, 10 of us in the house usually. And people would be coming and going sometimes too. So some months you'd have new people, some months you have somebody you had already seen that kind of left and things like that. It was definitely another moving cycle. And with my crash pad, even though it was a cold bed, you didn't really stay there when you didn't need to stay there. So for example, if you had like 3 days off, you were pretty much gonna go home or wherever home was for you. So I wasn't renting at the time. I was on a regional salary, which is tough. I was like, okay, so when I would have 3 days off or more, I would either go and travel using my benefits and go do something, or I would go back to my parents' house and stay there, or go to a friend's house or whatever I wanted to do. And every now and again, I would stay in my crash pad for a little bit, but I really tried not to, because you're all sharing everything. Like pantry space, cupboard space, dishes, like the dishes and the TV and all the living room furniture and all that came with the crash pad. There was a washer dryer in there. So you had to alternate like when your stuff could be washed. You had to make room in the fridge for like all your stuff and wherever you were gonna put your stuff, in the pantry, everything like that. The ironing board, oh my God, that ironing board was so funny because we all had to use that to iron your uniforms. You wanna stay on point. So you even had to take shifts on the ironing board. I never really unpacked my stuff in my crash pad. Like I had a shelf, like it was like a cabinet with 1 shelf, 2 shelf. That was my space. That was my space. So yeah, there was no room really. I mean, think of you 6 in a bedroom. There's no room for you to unpack your stuff. But what I will say about crash pads, the good, the bad, the ugly. The good about crash pads is it helped me save a lot of money to spend money in other places that I needed money to be in. So that was great. It kind of let me meet people really quickly in the scene, which was also great because then I met people that were in other airlines that were staying at my crash pad. So I got to hear what's going on with them and how their airline operates. I got to meet people with my own airline and kind of get in the gist of things. And great friends right off the bat. You meet some really cool people in crash pads. So I guess we'll go to the bad now. Now the bad is there's really no place for your stuff. When you have that many people squished into a house that shouldn't have that many people into it, you're constantly on top of each other. There's no space. You have to alternate when you can use the laundry. If there is one, you have to alternate when you can cook or when you can get to your stuff, because you can't all be in the kitchen at the same time or all in the living room. If somebody wants to watch one show and you come in after, you're stuck watching whatever they want to watch. If you're out partying or doing whatever you're doing and then you have to come back late, or you have a late flight all night to morning, you have people coming in and out, in and out. There's a lot of people that are all on different shifts. Now for the ugly, the straight up ugly. You're in a bunk bed. You're not having friends come over. You're not having a partner come over. People are disgusting, okay? I learned that back in college that everybody's raised differently, but a crash pad really showed me everybody's raised differently. Like, people would leave dishes in the sink or their stuff in the refrigerator for days on end because they would forget about it and then go off and be flying. And then when they got back, they couldn't even remember that was theirs, or it'd get pushed all the way to the back. The bathroom sometimes got like really disgusting, and fortunately the lady that we were renting our crash pad through, she came like once every like week or two to come clean. It would get gross, but it has its pluses and minuses, okay? When you're looking for like that cheap rent, that convenient living, or just need a spot and base that's gonna be cheaper than trying to do hotels on hotels on hotels, a crash pad is awesome for this. And you know, I have heard from other people who have stayed in crash pads that they've had different experiences than me. Some people love crash pads. They absolutely love it. They think it's great. I personally did not love it. I did not love it at all. I think it served its purpose, and that was fantastic. But if I could do it again, I probably wouldn't. I would probably just find some roommates and stay in an apartment or something. The only reason I initially started with crash padding is I decided to be based out in Phoenix. I got my approval to be based out in Phoenix, and I had never lived in Phoenix before. So I didn't know if I was gonna wanna stay or how long I was gonna do anything. Plus I knew like I was trying to get on with another airline pretty much right off the bat, because I knew straight when I went into regional was not the goal. I knew it was the foot in the door to get into the main line. So I didn't know how long I was actually gonna stay in Phoenix, so I didn't want to sign a lease. I didn't want to be stuck to anything, especially like this job is so spontaneous and everything's like this, and so I didn't want to get tied down. So that's why Crashpad worked for me. If you know you're gonna stay in a place for an extended period of time, I would definitely recommend like in training, even if you don't know anybody wherever you're going to live, then in training you will meet people. Or they have lots of Facebook pages where people will be posting looking for roommates or something like that. But I would recommend that over a crash pad if you know you're gonna stay there for an extended period of time. Go ahead and get you some roommates, get an apartment, whatever. But if you don't know if you wanna stay somewhere, then yeah, try crash pad out for a month or two. Or if you're moving out to base and you've never been there, get a crash pad. As you're looking for houses, look so you can get to see the areas of whatever place you're gonna be based in before you make a decision. Crash pads have their perks to them. They definitely serve a purpose, which is why they're still going. It's just, if you can live somewhere not a crash pad, I would recommend it. Which is why I have a home with a husband and not a crash pad. But anyways, that is kind of like my lowdown on crash pads. If there was something that I didn't cover that you would like to know, go ahead and comment down below. Or if you have a crazy crash pad story, I would love to hear it. I love hearing the crash pad stories because I have quite a few myself, which we're not going to get into that because this video will be so long. So if you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel and turn the bell on so you can be notified every time I post a video. That way you can get all your questions answered about the flight attendant life and traveling life and everything like that. So thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope you all have a great day. Bye.